and welcome to the Scones and Bones Halloween 2020 special. Spooky.
We're done.
Today we are going to be talking about the history of Halloween and carving some root vegetables. So
Yes.
I've got turnips. Audrey has the biggest rutabaga I've ever seen in my life.
This just showed up at my house this morning. I didn't know what to do with it, so we're gonna carve it.
We've got our cozy beverages. Audrey, what do you have?
So I'm drinking a really awesome chai tea. So it's a black tea with like cinnamon and cardamom. It's really like spicy and like autumnal. Out of this giant mug. It's a 20-ounce mug that says Death Before Decaf. I scored this from Big Lots. I have a spooky mug obsession, so I'm always looking for them. And this is like my new favorite. Look how
It's really big.
it
and
is.
like you're small, but like you're not that small.
Yeah.
Like that's just a big mug.
It's huge.
I have some coffee. I have coffee from Bones Coffee, and I'm drinking it out of my Bones Coffee mug. And it's actually like a hot buttered rum flavored coffee, I think.
Ooh.
It's a medium roast, which usually I go for darker roast. It's also, I'm drinking it black. Well, we have a guest. It's Puck, my cat.
Puck.
So we're doing root vegetables. We are actually kind of following the instructional video by English Heritage, which we'll link down below if you also want to carve your root vegetables. But Audrey has done the research for this. So Audrey, go right in and tell us, why do we use root vegetables?
So, I mean, other than the fact that it's glorious, root vegetables are the historical origin of carving your traditional little jack-o'-lantern for a number of reasons, but mostly because they were more widely available to the people who first started carving vegetables way back in the day. And those people were the Irish. Did you know, Michaela, that
Yes.
our people created
Our
Halloween?
people. There were a lot of Irish immigrants that came over to the US, right?
Right, in
That's why
the
it's such a big deal here.
mid-19th century, because of the potato famine, they came like in troves, and they brought this tradition, which comes from a really interesting story that I'm gonna tell, and it just became really popular in the United States for some reason. I thought they hated the Irish, but I guess they liked their fall activities. So.
Yeah.
But what the Irish discovered when they came to the US was these cute little pies. Since they're softer and they've got this color and they're also like obviously a better shape for putting a candle inside of, they started carving pumpkins instead.
And pumpkins are from the Americas, right? Like
Yes.
gourds like that, they're native here.
Yeah, so from what I had researched, and there might be some debate on this, but it sounds like they originated in Mexico, actually, pumpkins.
Oh.
A really different version of pumpkins. So I actually discovered that the type of pumpkin that we know and love, that's all round and orange and cute like this, is known as a Connecticut field pumpkin.
Yes, I actually have some
didn't know
seeds, and I'm planning to grow some next year in my yard.
So the Connecticut field pumpkin, which is this type of pumpkin that we know and love, is actually cultivated, as far as we know, by the Native Americans in more northeastern North America area. Pumpkin became really popular because it obviously has a really great flavor, but it's also just soft and really easy to prepare. So
Speaking of things that are soft and easy to prepare, this isn't.
yeah, I haven't even gotten started, and I'm kind of scared. Morgan is really worried that I'm gonna hurt myself.
Same with Nick. Well, Audrey's got a more serious knife than me. I'm using like a dining steak knife, and then I have a box cutter and an X-Acto knife that I'm gonna use later for details, but Audrey's just got a survival knife.
Well, I kind of figured that this would be safer than like my sharp cooking knives, because those are like, I don't know. This, I feel like I can grip this more, and it's a shorter blade, so you know, even if well, dark. I'm gonna go ahead and try to actually penetrate it. Oh, not bad.
Maybe the rutabaga is softer than the turnip.
Yeah, actually, so far not bad. Anyway.
Okay, I got my lid. It's a little
Cute. Wait, did you just
off-center.
like, am I stupid? Did you just cut the top off? Wait, I don't remember the video.
Okay, so in the video, she cuts the bottom off so that it has a flat surface, and then you
Okay, I
cut
have that.
the top off like a little hat, like you're scalping the little guy, so that you can carve out the interior. And I'm gonna eat this. I'm gonna eat my turnips, just so you know. These will not go to waste.
What will turnips be good in though? Like, cause I can't.
So you could roast them.
I sniffed this thing and I was like, girl, not.
So yeah, it's definitely like different. I'm probably gonna roast mine. You could do like garlic roasted turnips with some Parmesan. You could also mash them up and puree them, and kind of make like kind of like a mashed potato sort of thing. I don't know. I've had pureed parsnips before. I've also had pureed turnips. They definitely have a different flavor.
Yeah, I'm like smelling it as I'm cutting into this thing, and it's a strange flavor.
So right now this smells like a radish to me, but that's not really what they taste like. I don't think they taste like radishes. I don't know about rutabaga. So I've gotten some of my turnips in. So Audrey, why did they carve them in the first place? Where did that start?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting kind of legend that came from Irish folklore. So there is a story about this man who a lot of different names were used to describe this individual. One of my favorites being Stingy Jack. I also saw Drunk Jack. And he later gets another nickname that you might be able to guess.
Pumpkin Jack?
Jack of the Lantern, also Jack of the Lantern. Pumpkin Jack? Did we not just establish pumpkins weren't a thing yet?
I wasn't sure how much later you were talking about.
Oh my god. So
I read that also like that beets were also used as well as other root vegetables. I think beets would be fun because it looks like they're bloody and that's extra spooky.
True.
But your hands would be stained for days. Yeah.
Anyway, so back to my story. So this guy was apparently a terrible human being. He was a drunk, he was abusive, he was a shyster, you know, he was like always scheming and lying and thieving and whatnot. Right? And I would just like to say before I continue that I tried so hard to trace like the time period where this legend originated from, where this like how far back does it go. I definitely think it could be traced as far back as like maybe 1600s folklore, because that's when a lot of these types of legends originated, because that's when people were very superstitious as the Protestant movement became really influential. So that's my suspicion. Jerk Jack, that's what I'm gonna call him. Actually invited the devil out for a drink, you know, good old Satan. He was like, yo, you want chill?
Good old.
He's like, what up? Trying to hang? And Satan's like,
sup, Lucy?
Lucy. He hit up Lucy. Lucy was down. They hung out. They got a drink. But Jerk Jack, you know, he was, what do you call it when you like hang out with someone and then you try to get them to pay for you? He was like that.
Manipulative? I don't know.
So he was like, oh man, I don't have money to pay for this drink. Turn yourself into a coin so I can pay for it.
What?
and Satan's like, I mean, I guess.
Wow.
So he turns himself...
Much more casual.
I know.
Than I would have expected.
Isn't it weird how like chill Satan sounds in this story? He's just he's like, I mean,
just
okay.
Going out for a pint with my mates.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I guess I'll turn myself into a coin so you don't have to pay. But Jerk Jack, per usual, was a jerk, and he actually opted to not use Lucifer coin to pay, but instead he used it, or he just put it in his pocket and he kept it. And in his pocket he also had a silver cross. So I guess having them together,
bless you,
that trapped him. So he couldn't get out, and he trapped him for a really long time. Now this part of the story confuses me a little bit, because I'm like, if you wanted to trap him, why? Because he didn't use the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was a jerk.
He was like a jerk. So he was basically like, hey, I'm such a bad guy. I'm going to play a prank on Satan.
Well, not, yeah, that and so what he did after he had Satan in there, he was like, listen, I'll let you out if you promise to leave me alone for like a year. So my thinking is like he knew that he was gonna die and Satan was gonna like mess with him because he was such a bad human in life. So he saw this as an opportunity to kind of get himself some time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How's your rutabaga coming along?
Well, as you can see, it wasn't going very well.
Okay.
So I've moved on to a little white pumpkin.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping you wouldn't notice until like we finished, and then I pulled it up and I was like, look!
Mine is going pretty well. I accidentally cut through some.
It looks so good. I think that the turnip was the way to go.
Are you using a spoon?
No, I'm using my knife.
That's why I'm cutting it, Audrey, and then I'm using a spoon to scoop it out.
It's so hard.
Weird. I wonder why mine's so much softer. Okay, that's fine. Anyways, so he bargained and he got a year of his life.
I broke the stem off of my pumpkin.
Oh, lordy lord.
Yes, anyway, back to the history. Maybe I'll just carve my turnip.
That's not a turnip. Oh, right, your turnip.
So, the devil's like, okay, sure. He lets him out, and he moves on with his life, and, Jack is starting to get concerned because he realizes, he's starting to come up on a year. So he decides to hit up the devil again, and the devil actually listens to him. He tricks him to climb up a tree. These stories make the devil sound so stupid. Like, why doesn't he know how to do anything? But he tricks him into climbing up a tree. Like, why would he trust this dude at this point? And while Satan or Lucifer or whatever is up in the tree, Jack carves a cross into the trunk of the tree so that the devil can't climb down. And while he's up there, he says, listen, you gotta leave me alone for 10 years or else I'm not gonna let you down. And so devil's like, whatever, fine. Lets him down, leaves him alone. He promised. Devil's a man of his word, I guess. So now Jack dies of natural causes. Probably soon after is what I had mostly read, like not within 10, like before the 10 years was up. Because, he was an alcoholic and it's not a healthy lifestyle. So, he dies, and God is like, I don't want that fool. He's a jerk. I don't want him. And, oh, look at that. Look what I've done.
Good. Look, you're going so much faster with that.
Did you see? I've moved on to another pumpkin.
Yes, I do see.
God's like, son, you can't come in here. You're a jerk. And so I guess Jack goes to the devil, and the devil's like, are you kidding me? So what he does for him instead, because I guess now he's in Satan's jurisdiction or whatever, however that works, Satan just gives him a lump of coal, and he's like, you're just gonna walk around the earth for all eternity, and it's gonna suck. As he's, starting his journey of a life of wandering, or an eternity of wandering, I suppose, he grabs a handy-dandy turnip, which does not look like this, and he hollows it out so he can put it inside of there, because obviously you don't want to walk around with a hot coal. And he walks around with it, and he's scary, and he's evil, and he's angry, and he's bad. You definitely don't want to interact with him, right? So this is the legend. Now, here's where I get confused about this story, right? So according to what I had read and what the records show, people started to create their own carved out lanterns of sorts with, like you said, any root vegetable that was readily available. Beets, turnips, whatever. And they used these to ward off evil spirits like Jack. And that confuses me a little bit, right? Because the legend is that he did this. This was like his brand. This was his thing. And why would it scare him away? Why would it, you know what I mean? What do you think of that? Well,
I don't know. Why were they trying to ward him off? What exactly was it that he did where they're trying to ward him off? Is he trying to steal? Is he trying to possess somebody? Like, are they trying to ward him off by being like, oh, look, there are more of these little pumpkins. We also have the cold. Don't come to our house.
I feel like in terms of why they wanted to ward him off, he was described as being evil and a jerk, and so we would assume that he would bring those traits into death. And so it was something you would want to avoid. He was so bad that he tricked the devil. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a dude you probably want to mess with. Hold on, I need a spoon.
So I've hollowed out my first turnip by now.
These are my parsnips. This didn't work out. This is what I'm currently working with. Didn't work out. That's where the legend comes from. Now, it's important, I think, to mention that even though this is a legend that probably came out of, like, I don't know, the 1600s is my guess, there had been a association with kind of like this fall celebration and using fire as a protection, as a method of protection. You know, that was kind of something that already existed in the culture.
From Samhain?
Yeah, exactly. So I figured we could kind of transition our conversation into Samhain and what that was and how that kind of led to Halloween as well, because I think that even though obviously this lovely little story I've just told has to do with why we carve jack-o'-lanterns, I also think that it became so popular because traditions like Samhain.
Little hat. He has a little hat.
You should give him just like a really cute little like face, you know.
Ooh woo.
Yeah, you should make it ooh woo, turn it.
Ooh woo. Okay, so
tell me what
Samhain.
you know about Samhain, because it sounds like you know something.
I know that it's called Samhain and it's not Samhain.
Yeah.
It's not pronounced Samhain. I know that it is a Celtic pagan holiday, and I think it has to do with harvest and like celebration of harvest.
Totally.
But outside of that, I don't know that much. I probably learned it back in the day and I don't remember it. So tell me.
Right on the money with where it comes from, a Celtic holiday celebrated going back way back, thousands of years. What we do know is that the Christians started to take over in Rome around, I think, what was it?
Constantinople? I think bless you.
I don't know much, what do you mean by that?
Or, well, I'm trying to think of which Roman emperor popularized Christianity.
So 600 AD is the number that I have when they really started doing their Christian thing. Prior to that, the Celtic faith was all over the British Isles. So with the highest population of these people being in Ireland, but they were also in like parts of England, parts of France, so they were spread all throughout this part of Europe. So yeah, it was a really big faith, and it, you know, they praised a lot of deities. There's a lot that we don't know about them. Obviously, we don't have a lot of records, but we know that they had a lot of deities. They had a lot of earth-oriented beliefs and rituals that kind of praised nature and whatnot. Around this time of year, November 1st specifically, was actually the start of their new year. Yeah, so they believed that between the last day of their previous year and their new year was when, I guess, like the veil was the thinnest, you know, when like...
Yes, I've heard that before.
And when theoretically the dead could walk the earth. But from what I've read, that wasn't really their primary concern at this time. A lot of people say that they were like creating these fires and doing these rituals to ward off the dead, but they were actually just mostly celebrating their new year. And apparently, since this was like such a spiritually charged time, they could use it as a way to kind of get in contact with spirits to learn prophecies, which was a really important aspect of their culture for their survival, especially heading into the winter. So they would kind of use this celebration to try and get in contact and kind of protect and prepare for the really arduous winter that they had to endure, because, you know, life sucked back then. Let's be real. So yeah, some of the celebrations that we know about, they had like a really big bonfire, or lots of really big fires, costumes, fire, the dead maybe hanging around. But beyond this, I think also just people like holidays. Like,
yeah, people like to party.
People like to celebrate. They like to have something to look forward to. So, you know, it was a big event.
Audrey.
Yo, why he look like that? I love it so much. I'm so excited to see it. Like I said, the Christians were in Rome and they were taking over everything like Christians be doing. And they came up in there and they were like, yeah, trying to kind of get rid of the Celtic faith without, at first they were not being as aggressive as they eventually got. At first they were just kind of trying to like blend things a little bit. So one of the kind of subtle indications that they were trying to do this is that they moved one of their holidays, All Saints Day, from I think like May to November 1st, which a lot of historians have argued was an effort to kind of blur the lines between Samhain and All Saints Day. Can I see it too? I must observe.
Yeah, I don't know much about All Saints Day.
I guess it was kind of like a day initially in the beginning to celebrate like the martyrs of the faith and like obviously the saints, but it was like a very religious holiday. But as time went on, it started to become more of like a celebration of the dead in general. So it went through a lot of iterations in terms of what they were celebrating, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they were combining these two cultures, peacefully or not.
It was also still a pretty new religion.
Yeah, definitely. This is actually a direct quote from history.com because I thought they said it well. The All Saints Day celebration was also called All Hallows or All Hallowmas, from Middle English All Hallowmas meaning All Saints Day. And the night before it was the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion, which is so began to also be called All Hallows Eve, because it was the eve of Samhain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The 31st.
Yeah.
All Hallows Eve transitioned into Halloween for, you know, like shorthand.
Yeah.
And that's how that term got started.
I'm pretty much finished with this little turnip, so I think I am going to move on to my second one.
Yay! I love the...
Look at him.
Oh my god, I love him so much.
Whoa.
And good to know that looked pretty easy to carve. Like, you didn't struggle at all.
It was super easy to carve. Like, this is a wicked sharp X-Acto knife, but...
That's really good to know.
Ready? Let's put his hat on.
Oh my god, look at him. He's so cute.
I need to make him a friend.
Yes, for sure. And like all the timelines of Halloween history that I found, there wasn't much going on until like the mid-1800s when the Irish came to America, the United States. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that people were just distracted. And also Halloween and the Hallows Eve and all this is kind of like a fun, casual way to cope with the macabre, in my opinion. Like, it's, you know, you're kind of playing with the ideas of death, but you're doing it in a way that makes you more comfortable. Before winter, that was a time period that was really dark and gloomy. You all thought you were gonna die. You were either gonna starve, you were gonna freeze, or you were gonna get murked. You know what I mean? Think when things got really dark for some people during like the 1600s, for example, the early colonists, they did not have a good time, and they had all that witchcraft craze. Like, I don't think they were looking for a holiday to celebrate these things. You know what I mean?
And maybe people did celebrate it, but like they just didn't write about it.
Yeah. I think fall harvest celebrations have always been a thing. The Irish brought Halloween to the United States during the 1800s. And I attached in that document, Michaela, some images that we can flash up on the screen that people have probably seen of these really unnerving children's costumes from the early 1900s.
Oh, there are some weird, yeah.
Creepy. And this brings us into the modern era of Halloween, which is a fun discussion because there's a lot of conjecture. So as we know, the Irish tradition of putting out the lanterns was kind of like a protection to ward away spirits and to kind of scare away bad stuff. Then there also comes the tradition of dressing up in costumes, going to people's houses, knocking on the door, and demanding candy of them.
Yeah.
I really wanted to figure out how trick-or-treating started. And I found something interesting, and let me read it directly so I don't mess up. There was something called souling in medieval Britain and Ireland. Souling. Like soul cycling.
Like S-O-U-L?
Yeah.
Oh, soul cycling. I guess that's a thing. I wouldn't know.
And it was when poor people would knock on doors on Hallowmas, which was, All Saints Day, Samhain kind of combination during the medieval times, as we know. Mostly a religious holiday for those people. And they would ask for food in exchange for prayers for the dead, since as we discussed, this was a holiday celebrating your deceased relatives, and they would say, oh, if you give me something, you give me a little piece of bread, I will pray for your dead great uncle, and he'll get into heaven. Which, isn't that weird? Isn't that interesting? So that's the earliest trace or earliest thing resembling trick-or-treating that I could find. I think it just kind of snowballed, taking the costumes from Samhain, from the souling, from All Saints Day, and combining them into this tradition where, as Halloween began to evolve into more of a happy and social celebration during the 1900s, people wanted to find more fun, playful things that kind of united the community a little bit more.
So one question I have,
yes,
and I don't know much about this, and I also don't speak Spanish. Dios de los Muertos is a similar time of year, and that's also in the Americas, where I wonder, I really don't know much about it.
Me neither, actually.
But I wonder if that influenced Halloween at all. I don't know what the customs are.
That's a really interesting question that I probably should have researched, because that's also a celebration of dead relatives.
Honoring spirits, right? I think.
Yeah.
That's
So I almost wonder if they got that from their Spanish friends who infiltrated their culture, and if it evolved into its own thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it sounds kind of similar to All Saints Day, doesn't it? I have to look that up.
It does. Oh gosh. It does, and that's why I'm is that one of those things where, they had pyramids in South America, they had pyramids in Egypt, and they obviously never spoke to each other. It was just a human thing that made sense to, is there actually something that makes this time of year super spiritual for people?
The fact that something resembling specific legends, like a ghost, for example, exists in all cultures almost, with little variations depending on their beliefs or their religion or their practices, but these cultures haven't communicated with each other, and yet a similar tradition emerges because there are...
It's sometimes around the same time.
I totally agree with you. The way that there's a similar themed holiday that just kind of exists in different cultures, I do think the likelihood of the Spanish bringing those traditions over is pretty severe. But
I'm gonna Google it right now.
It's
Originally, Day of the Dead as such was not celebrated in northern Mexico, where it was unknown until the 20th century because its indigenous people had different traditions.
I'd love to know what their traditions were.
Scholars trace the origins of the modern Mexican holiday to indigenous observances dating back hundreds of years to an Aztec festival dedicated to the goddess, Mitecactuital. It has become a national symbol. Let's see what this goddess is about.
I love history.
She's the Lady of the Dead. Okay. So I don't know if it's around this same time of year. It might be, but it is definitely that sort of thing. Interesting. I didn't even know about this. Interesting. Okay, so this is something maybe for more exploration. I didn't know that about Dia de los Muertos. Sorry, I was saying it wrong.
That's really, really cool. I'm glad you looked that up.
Because I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, we also have another tradition in the Americas that's about the dead in a similar time of year.
The exact same time of year.
Interesting. And I wonder if the Aztec tradition or the Aztec holiday was a slightly different time of year, and then when the Spanish came over with All Saints Day, they adjusted it, or if it was really that time, because that would be very interesting to see different way. But they had pyramids, like the Egyptians had pyramids. Let me tell you what, it wasn't aliens. Aliens didn't tell them how to make pyramids. Anyone stacking anything
They had...
We'll be like, oh, the base is more secure if it's wider and it's smaller at the top. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you finish your pumpkin?
I did finish my pumpkin.
Wah, wah, wah. My friends. I have to figure out how to light them up. Maybe I could just drop a match inside of them.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Why not?
Okay, I'm back. This is my little dude.
Oh, he's so cute.
Thank you. I worked really hard on him. Many efforts got us here, but I didn't get to do anything with my parsnips, but next time.
Okay, I'm gonna drop a match in a turnip.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
It's gonna light on fire.
No, it won't. There's enough moisture in there, it'll just...
Please make sure the camera can see all of this because I would like to watch it back.
See, he just burned out.
Burned out?
Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen.
Oh, I was gonna light on fire.
Maybe. What if I cut a hole in the back and then I stick the match through?
We did it. We've done it.
Ta-da! I have a match in the inside of it.
Okay, that's horrifying, but I love it.
So...
Wait, that gave me a good idea. Morgan, can I borrow your phone for a second? Okay,
So-
they're still really cute. I'm very proud of our pumpkins. I hope I taught you something today, Michaela.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think it also brought more questions out when we were talking about, like, you know, just the human...
Intellectual archetypes?
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Collective human ideas, whatever. So yeah, carve a turnip or a pumpkin or anything that is carvable this year. And let us know if you have any traditions that we didn't have. If you're from somewhere else in the world and you even celebrate it, or if you celebrate another holiday which is similar, because we'd be curious to know. Make sure, you know, to light your little fire, keep the ghosts away. So
Keep Jerk Jack away. Drunk Jack.
yeah. And we will see you next month with something a little more spooky. So stay tuned. Bye.